The biggest misconception is why people will pay you a full fee and why they won't. It has nothing, I won't say nothing. However, what most people think and what most people, are being trained to do is articulate their value proposition as if people are getting paid because I'm going to provide this value. It's really not about value. It's about trust. And people will pay more for trust. And in one of the things from Chris, which was a real game changer, is the idea of the favorite and the fool. The entire real estate industry, at least here in the United States, in my opinion, is built on a false premise. And that false premise is that agents are winning or losing business based on their value proposition, one, and their ability to articulate their value to a potential seller or buyer. Most agents, when they get that phone call, hi, we're thinking about selling our home. We'd love you to come out and talk to us. Most agents jump up and down for joy. Yeah, this is what I want, a listing opportunity. They're going to spend 2 to 3 hours preparing at a minimum for the appointment. Then they're going to drive out to the property. They're going to take a tour of the home, which will take 15 minutes to an hour plus, depending on the size of the home. Then they're going to give either a formal presentation or informal presentation. All told, they're there for about 2 hours. At the end of, and they're talking the whole time, yap, 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 yap. At the end, the potential seller says, wow, you've given us so much to think about. Let us process and we'll get back to you. The agent packs up their stuff. They don't know, did I get it? Did I not get it? For 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, they're on pins and needles, waiting to find out, should I follow up? Should I not follow up? And then their phone rings and they see it's that seller and their heart starts beating. Hello, it's Steve. Hi, Steve. It's Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. Wow, you made it really hard on us. However, we've decided to go in a different direction. And that agent's heart drops to the floor. They can barely squeeze out a thank you, goodbye, and they're devastated. And what's interesting about this whole process is when they got that phone call in the beginning, that potential seller already knew who they were going to work with, or they were leaning strongly in a direction. And so getting back to Chris is a former FBI hostage negotiator. And in that line of work, they created this methodology that he calls tactical empathy. And tactical empathy is the art of influencing others by articulating what they're thinking and feeling without necessarily agreeing, disagreeing, or sympathizing. Bottom line, it's making people feel understood. And so when you get that phone, we've condensed this process down to a 15-minute call or Zoom call. And so the agents that I'm coaching now, they're not going out to anyone's living room without a commitment from that potential seller that they're going to work together. They haven't talked price. They haven't talked home preparation, haven't talked marketing. And we've created this simple framework that I can find out, am I the favorite or am I the fool in the game? And so it's not about winning them over with what you're going to do for them. It's simply finding out what's true. Do they want to work with me or not?
I come from a corporate background of bid management, and I read about your favorite or the fool philosophy. Um, and we used to approach this in a very similar way. We either knew that we were the favorite because the client had already made their decision, or we knew that we were going to be what we used to call column fodder, which is the client was just going to take everyone's fee and then line them up and go, all right, well, I was going to pick this one anyway, but maybe I could see if I could bargain this one down and get this one down further or something like that. How do you know as an agent whether you are the favorite or the fool from a vendor?
So you get this phone call and you say, great, I would love to come out and meet you. However, if you don't think it's a horrible idea If you're not opposed, I'd like to set up a call or Zoom call. It'll be no more than 15 minutes so I can better find out what's going on. That's your first litmus test. If you're the favorite, they're going to agree to that call. If you're the fool in the game, they're going to give you some pushback because they want to do things on their schedule, not your schedule. So whether they agree to do that call or not, that Zoom call or not, that's your first clue. Now, assuming they say, yeah, no problem, and we can either do it now if they have time or we set up an appointment to do it. The structure to that call is you're going to start out with a quick summary of anything you may have discussed. When we talked last, you mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't mind, could you share a little bit more? Again, this is the second filter. And now we're listening. Are they going to open up and be collaborative, or do they just want information? We call it due diligence. Are you there just to provide information? And so they're either going to be talkative or not talkative. That's going to be another clue. From there, we're going to go to, if you don't mind, and you'll hear me do this all the time, we call it a no-oriented question. And a no, or as salespeople, you've been trained your whole life to get to yes. Yes is the Mecca. You're always trying to get a yes. What you don't realize when you're trying to get a yes out of somebody, you're creating resistance. Human beings will die for their autonomy. Everyone wants a choice. As a human being, we love to say no. No makes us feel safe and protected. No makes us feel like we choose what we want to do. And so a big part of this, one of the tools in the tactical empathy toolbox is what we call no-oriented questions. And so, would you be opposed? Would you mind? Would it be a bad idea? Is now a bad time? So it takes a while to retrain your mind how to do this. However, it's incredibly effective. So I'm going to ask them, if you don't mind, if you could write the script for how you get your home sold, what would that look like? So I'm inviting them to tell me what their dream scenario would be. If you could write the script, what would be your ideal scenario? What would be your version of winning the lottery in terms of selling your home? And I want to hear from them. What do they hope? What do they really want? What do they really want? And I'm not trying to talk them out of anything. And once I get their dream price, then I'm going to go, all right, let's go in the other direction. What would be the nightmare scenario? What would be the nightmare scenario? What would be the worst possible outcome? And remember, and this is another important thing, the biggest motivator of human behavior is fear of loss. It's not prospective gain. And again, every salesperson has been trained to pitch value, pitch gain. That's not what motivates people. What motivates people is fear of loss. So I want to find out what the dream is. Then I want to find out what the nightmare is, because that's really what's important. They want to avoid the nightmare scenario. And I'm going to ask them, what do you think you need to do to avoid this nightmare scenario? And I want to get them anchored to what that nightmare scenario is. So now that we know your dream price, now that we know what the nightmare is, what are you actually hoping for? And I'm going to say it just that way. Low and slow. Tone and pace are incredible tools for communication. And what I want to find out, are they realistic? They gave me the fantasy. They told me what they don't want to have happen. Now, what are they really hoping for? And the first part of this framework, there's 3 parts to the framework. Is there a deal here? Is there a deal here with me? And then, do I want this deal? In this first part, is there a deal here? I'm trying to figure out, are they realistic or not? So I'm listening to what they're saying to determine, is this person realistic about selling their home? Assuming they are, now I'm going to go to the second part. Is there a deal? Is there a deal here with me? And the first thing I'm going to say, and again, this is what's called a mislabel. I'm going to say, would it be wrong to assume that if you could, you'd like to go through this process of selling your home without working with a real estate professional? Your preference would be to do this on your own. Again, that's a mislabel because most people don't want to do it on their own. However, I want them to say, no, we want to work with an agent. I want them to say that. And if they say, no, yeah, we would, rather do it on our own, that's great information also. Then I'm going to say, okay, if you'd rather do it on your own, why am I here? I'm going to get right to why am I here? So I want them to say, no, we do want to work with an agent. Then I'm going to say, what are you looking for from a real estate agent in terms of A, helping you get what you want, and B, more importantly, helping you avoid what you don't want? And now I'm listening. Are they talking about me or are they talking about some other agent? Again, this will be a clue. If I'm the favorite, they're going to be talking about me. If I'm the fool in the game, they're probably talking about an agent, a third person. We want our agent, or we want a agent to do this, an agent. So again, more clues. And then I'm going to get to what Chris brought from the hostage world, which is proof of life. As a hostage negotiator, there's nothing to negotiate if you don't know the hostage is alive. So they always had to get what was called proof of life. And the proof of life question in real estate is, I'm curious, of all the agents you could have reached out to, why me? And now I'm going to stop and listen, because now they're going to tell me their perception of my value. And there's only two ways they can go. They can give me an answer as to why they want to work with me, or they have to make something up because I'm the fool in the game and they haven't gotten their free information yet, and they've got to keep me interested. And so it's either a robust response, like you sold our neighbor's home, we talked to them, they had great things to say about you, they said you absolutely need to work with Steve, we went to your website, we read all your reviews, we loved what Sally Smith said about you, we actually went by an open house and saw you, you're great. That's a robust response. Versus, oh, we got something in the mail, or we were driving through the neighborhood and we saw a sign of yours, or we threw a dart at the dartboard and your name came up. So based on that, why me, you're going to get a real answer as to whether you are the favorite or the fool. The third part is, do I want it? So assuming if I'm the fool in the game, let's start there. If I go through this, and again, we're 10, 15 minutes. This is not a long conversation. We haven't really got into any specifics. We're just figuring out, am I the favorite or the fool?
Yeah,
and
still on Zoom.
Say it again.
Still on Zoom.
Well, it can be a phone call or Zoom. I prefer Zoom, but if you want to do a call, that's okay. If I think I'm the fool in the game, what I'm going to do there is I want to exit gracefully. I don't want to spend any more time. I don't need to hear myself talk. I don't need to give them free information. I don't do free consulting. In real estate, most agents, at least over here, they're operating on hope, meaning they're going to give everything they have for free, hoping someone will do business with me. We don't do that at all. One of the things Chris said early on, which was a real jaw dropper, the more value you give away for free, the less valuable you become. And that goes against all the wisdom in real estate, again, because agents are always giving everything away for free. So if I think I'm the fool in the game, I want to get out of there and I want to do it gracefully. I don't want to be a jerk about it. And I'm going to say something like, well, it sounds like you have some. If I think I'm the fool in the game, then I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to say, would I be wrong to assume that you're probably interviewing other agents? And you always ask that. Would I be wrong to assume that you're probably interviewing other agents? And again, if you're the fool in the game, they're gonna hem and haw. They may say yes. You just put them on the spot. And then I'm going to ask, who are you interviewing? And then they're going to go, well, that's not really relevant. And the more resistance you get to them talking about other agents, that's just confirmation you're the fool in the game. And I'm going to say, why don't we do this? don't you meet with the other agents? And if for any reason you're not confident or comfortable that they can help you, then you can reach back out to me and we can reconnect. Because all I want to do is get off the phone or get off the Zoom call right now because I'm the fool in the game. Now, if I think I'm the favorite and we want to move forward, then I want to figure out, do I want this deal? And we're going to start out by saying, before moving forward, there's a couple things I want to bring up that might be potential sticking points. And they're going to say, what's that? One is my fee. And they're going to say, what's your fee? And I'm going to say, I'm very expensive. And in their mind, they're going to 10%. That's the number they're going to go in their mind. Well, what's your fee? My fee for representing you on the listing side is 3.5%. And when you're the favorite, this goes back to a question you asked earlier. When you're the favorite, they will pay you your fee. When you're the favorite, that's what really determines your commission, not your value. It's being the favorite. Now, they may push back once or they may push back twice. When you say 3.5, well, all the other agents seem to do it for less. That's right. Other agents do it for less. 3.5% is my standard. That's the fee I charge everyone. Now, again, when you're the favorite, that's enough of an answer. They just need to hear something that they can be okay with. And when you say, that's my standard, that's the fee I charge everyone, for 99% of the sellers, that's okay. If they push back again for some reason, you would simply say, it sounds like my fee might be a deal breaker for you. And now we're absolutely going to get to the truth as to whether they want to work with you or not.